morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday, guys. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a great Saturday so far. Um, it is cold. I just want to complain a little bit. I just want to complain. Well, first of all, let me just start off by saying Black Roses is out today, unfortunately. I want you all to just keep her in your prayers. She's out due to some um personal things today. So we're gonna just keep Black Roses in our prayers today, guys. Yeah, but with that being said, good morning, and I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday so far. Me, I am not. I woke up. It is cold down here in Florida. Like, why? I woke up this morning. I am freezing. Like, I
Get
even.
over it. One couple days of cold weather is not going to kill you.
It's been
We've
cold.
been we've
It's
been freezing.
it's been cold 2 days too many. I don't have.
Oh, poor baby.
It's been cold. I try to walk outside. I'm like, all right, it's cold. Because when you first wake up in the house, it's
And I
cold.
bet you cold for them is like 60 some degrees.
59, but shush.
Oh,
59, but shush.
oh.
That's cold enough. It's
Grab
unusual.
grab a grab a sweater and get over it.
It's unusual. And then Gemma is complaining because she can't wear her sandals. I'm like, you better put them
Man,
boots.
we had weather that was 6 and 7 degrees for days. So I don't want to hear.
I'm used
I remember that week when it was like in the single digits, the low single digits. It was like I was wrapped up
I did hear
and
that.
I was going. I remember getting out the car to go to a gas station, and it was a line. And in that time, it felt like my fingertips were like it was painful to
That's
even stand outside to pump gas. So you complaining about 30 degrees felt great here. And
that's
you're
that.
complaining about 59 degrees, which is really probably only because you're near water that it
Right.
feels that much colder.
I feel bad now. That's that woo shit. Woo shit.
Right.
You
And
put
no, it was beyond, like, people were dying. Like, not homeless people, but regular people. You
I,
heard all up along the East Coast,
I
people pipes were bursting,
I know.
and it happened all up and down the East Coast, but it was really like in the southern side of East Coast, like
In
Atlanta and places like that
Texas,
was not used to it.
yeah, Texas. There was a lot of pipes and stuff in the restaurants that was just bursting out of nowhere. I said, "Good
Hmm.
Lord, I don't know what is going on with this cold front." I am complaining because I'm cold. I don't like to be cold. That's what I came down here for. I don't want to be cold, but I do feel bad because I have heard a lot of stories. Especially like up north, like in that Buffalo area. So
Hmm.
many people, like a lot of elderly people that were dying because they were like stuck, trying to go to the store and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And
Well,
they
I mean, in those areas, I was shocked at because it did just get drastically cold. Like
hmm
single digit cold is different than snow. It's different.
right.
But I was still, I was like here, that was strange. But in
Mm.
places like New York, upper New York, up that northeastern area, I was shocked because it gets bitterly cold there. So I think because throughout the pandemic, people didn't really, the weather was not horrible. And I
Right.
think 3 years for them was like, okay, a break. But then this fourth year was like, okay, back to normal.
Right. I don't know. I did follow one story only because a customer had told me about it. I don't know why these customers, when you come on the telephone and you introduce yourself, and these customers hear my name and they are not of our race, they just feel like they just want to tell me a story so they can feel relative to me. Like they just have to, like, oh, your name is such and such.
You
I
give your
know
real
such.
name. You mean when you call customer service
No, so I work for a bank. I work from home,
and
so
you
I
use
am
your real
customer
name?
service. Yeah, I have to use my real name.
Oh no, I wouldn't. I would see.
Just my first
You
name.
know
You don't
what?
have to give me your
Stuff
last
like
name.
that.
You
That's
don't
why I
have to
got
give me
fired from
anything
that
else.
mortgage company. Because
So you don't have to give them anything else. You don't have to give them your last name. You don't have to give them your like.
that's still too much.
So I hate when it just gives me like a cringe when they just feel like they have to tell you this relative story, like because your name is so and so. So I have I have a hood name. Let's be honest. I got a hood name. My real name is Shakia. It's a hood name.
Oh
Let's be
wow.
honest. Let's be honest. I'm gonna just put it out there. So when customers of not of our nationality call, not of our race, they call and they feel like, oh, that's so unique. No, it's not. Be real. That's hood. I like it. It's hood, but I like it. Be real. Don't be trying to keep telling me my name is unique. I know my name hood. I tell my mama all the time, my name is hood. Why you name me Shakia? Why you do that to me? Um, so this guy felt like he was one of those people that felt like, oh my God, Shakia, that's your name? Oh yeah. So I don't know if you watched the news. There was a young lady on the news and her name was Shakira. I said, my name is Shakira. So why are you telling me a story about somebody named
Mm.
Shakira? We don't have the same name.
My
Yeah.
cousin named Shakira.
And so, but we don't have, it's still not the same name. It's still different. So why are you telling me this story? Yeah, her name was Shakira and she, a black girl. So he had to go out there. He had to put himself out there to let it be known. Yeah, she was a black girl.
That's actually a Spanish name.
Right. So just because I said my name was Shakia, you just assume I was black. I mean, there are so many, now it's so many different, just as many girls out of the African American origin that have Mercedes, Alexis. There are so many names that we have, that we use, that are and that other people use. Indians, they use a lot of our names that we use.
Well, a
So
lot
I
of
don't.
those names originated from those cultures, and
Right.
we adapted them.
Right. So I
So
don't
that's why I don't
understand
get
why he
the
just
younger.
assumed that, so he had to put it out there like, oh yeah, she was a black girl. That was the second thing. So I was waiting on it because I knew that's what he was going to say. I was just trying to see how he was going to fit it in. So he's like, yeah, she was a black girl. Her name was Shakira and she was in New York and she saved this Caucasian guy. He was lost in the snow and she saved him. It was a really unique story. But it just cringe. It just makes me cringe. Like, why do you have to go out of your way when I tell you my name to just give me this story to make you feel like you can relate to me based upon my name?
Well, my frustration, and I think I've gotten it a lot being from Baltimore. Often, people assume that I'm not from here because I don't always. Sometimes when I'm really comfortable, you can hear it, but most
Mhm.
times you can't. Um,
Right.
and that's just because I took speech class my whole life because I had a horrible lisp growing up, and
Mhm.
it's coming back, unfortunately. But it has, you know, they really people who sound country. I have friends from New Orleans, from Alabama, who love listening to people from Baltimore talk because it just sounds funny to them. And I'm like, do you know how you sound? But my
Right.
biggest pet peeve is a lot of these companies outsourcing their customer service. And sometimes it's not even, I can tell the person is from America. I can just tell. And
Mhm.
when it's specifically when it's a person of color speaking to them, they can't seem to understand us. And it's
Mhm.
the most frustrating thing. And I have to sometimes catch myself and just ask, can I speak to your manager? Because
Right.
I'm over you. Because you should, at least at this point, I know because you're being outsourced or because you're white, you've had to, deal with a lot of customers from a certain demographic, and you should at this point understand them, because I don't think we're speaking any
Different. Yeah.
differently. It's just my accent may be different than yours. And because I listen to people, and I've gone to diverse schools and I grew up in diverse neighborhoods. So I get it. But
It's
at
like
some
if
point, if
you
you
say
just listen instead of guessing what I'm about to say, and it really,
but it's
aside from
like if
people
you
getting my
say
name
something,
wrong, it just pisses me off.
but it's like if you say something back to them of that sort, or you say, could you say it again? Or you say, I don't understand. Can you repeat? They get offended. If you say something of that nature to
Mm,
them, they get offended. That's what gets me. How do you get, if I
yeah.
say the same thing back to you, you get offended and you just feel some type of way.
It
But it's
just
okay for
it
you.
frustrates me that if nothing else will set me off of customer service, that's it. Or it's this thing that y'all, I think, and I've worked in customer service over the phone before, so I get it. And it's something that some managers try to train you to do, where you spell out a word using other words.
Yeah.
And when I say I hate that, because it is such a dumbing down of people. Like, and I feel like it's often disrespectful because you
You
understand what
mean
I'm saying. And I know sometimes letters get misunderstood because I'm a whisperer. Like I'm not a loud talker.
uh-huh.
And often people have to say, can you repeat that? But
Right.
when it's done, and you can tell when it's being done in a way where it's specifically about my demographic.
Right.
Like it just enrages me. I don't know why. I just
When people get my accent, I don't know. It's funny when I'm on the phone and I get customers. It's usually like younger guys
hmm
from New York. I get a lot of New York. I get a lot of people from New York. I guess because the bank that I work for is based out of New York, so
right.
I get a lot of younger guys from New York, and that's the or from Philly, Pennsylvania. I
hmm
get a lot of them, and that's the first thing they say. You from Baltimore, ain't you? And I'm like, oh my God, why do you say that? I hear that too. I hear that too. And I'm like, oh my
And it's not what enrages me about that one, because it becomes such a class issue. Because
right,
even other black people do it, and I'm in my mind. I'm saying, do you hear yourself talking?
right,
Like, do you hear yourself? Because the accent from Baltimore that a lot of people get is not really from black people. It's from white people. Like that Han speaks.
God,
And because
yeah,
that's what they typically hear when they see movies or TV shows about people, because people stay in that stereotype about us. But
that's my
at the same time, it just really it frustrates me. Like
that's
it
my
really,
when
because
somebody call me hun,
hmm
don't call
and
me.
it just Baltimore is not even a predominantly black city.
It's not at all.
And we get black people in the city really get a lot of the gripe because of that. And it just it infuriates me because it's that whole thing of, black people being stupid and not being ignorant.
Yeah,
But
illiterate. Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I talk the way I talk, and I
Right.
speak the way I speak, and I don't try to sound white. And because I used to get that a lot when I was a child, and that's only
Me
because I was
too.
always in speech class, and I just learned a way of talking. And it would he like, there go Nate again, and it just frustrates me because you get it on both sides. And now,
Right.
and I always defend Baltimore and how we speak, because this is how we talk. And because I don't get, and it's normally somebody from the South or the upper
Mm-hmm.
North, like that extreme, that
Mm-hmm.
can hear it. And I understand you can pick up people's subtle accents, but they say it in a way like Baltimore is dumb. Like I'm always Twitter fingers online when I see people doing it, and I will shut a comic down immediately
Right.
and with no hesitation.
And that's crazy because that's how my kids, when I, so of course, y'all know I talk extremely proper because of, how, where I was raised, the areas that I was raised in, I talk extremely proper. So my kids, they talk very proper because they were also raised in some of the same areas that I was raised in. And it's crazy because when they came down south to North Carolina, it kind of threw me off when they said they were getting teased about the way that they talk. But those North
hmm
Carolina kids talk so country and elite. Like it was funny how bad they talk. And my oldest son that was in high school, he said, Mommy, they would make fun of me like, you talk weird, you talk this, you talk that. But he
People
talks
just hate
proper.
different, and it's sad. It really is.
It's nothing wrong. I don't think it's anything wrong with the way he talks. I think he talks he talks, like I said, they talk extremely proper. They don't, they don't talk. I think they talk well. I think they speak well. I think they speak well enough that they'll be able to carry a conversation when they, when they get older, that they'll be able to, conduct an interview when they get older. They speak, of a tone that I think that is
But
going
it's interesting that you say it in that way, and I understand what you mean. But people automatically um, associate your cadence or your speech pattern with your intelligence, and it has nothing to do with that at
to
all. It's just how you speak.
how you
And
speak.
being from a city, you're gonna sound like the people you're around.
Yeah, real.
It
Yeah.
just happens that way. But
That's what I
we just that's one of the things. I have a friend who does that a lot, and I I go off, like I've recorded her one time talking, and I'm like, this is how you sound. Like, do you hear yourself speaking? Because
hmm
it's very disrespectful, especially when black people do it to other black people from other areas of the country or
Yeah.
other areas of the world even. We are so hard on people for how they speak when you can understand that person if you just stop thinking and listen.
Listen, right. Because I had, it is funny. That is correct. Because when I was in the medical field and I worked for St. Agnes and I did the billing in the medical field. And I
I
had
hate that
one
hospital, by the
coworker,
way.
everybody hate
I
that
do.
hospital. I didn't work, I worked out, I worked for an office outside of that hospital. I didn't work for
Mhm.
that hospital, to be clear. I didn't work in that
But that
hospital.
because that reason, that's why I hate, because that hospital is not a typical hospital. Like, they
No.
don't have their own doctors. So
It's
everything you get billed for is separately. You get billed separately for
outside,
your doctor. You get billed separately for, and they itemize it, but everything is outsourced, so it costs
yeah.
more.
It is. It is all about doctors. They came from like everywhere. But I had one coworker. She hated speaking to Asian people, and she hated speaking to Indian people. People from the Eastern. What is
Hmm.
it? It's the Eastern. Is that what it is? The
Middle
Eastern.
East.
Middle East. She hated speaking to people from Middle East. She would always try to pass me the phone. Or she hated speaking to people that were like from Korea, from Japan, anybody with those type of accents. She would not speak to because she said she couldn't understand them. And I would get on the phone, and like you said, if you just listen, take the time and be patient, I'm like, I understand what they're saying. I
And
don't
you can
understand.
say things, and I'm this way because I sometimes talk to a lot of children, and sometimes children are fast talkers or
Mhm.
they're quiet talkers. And it's little things that you can do. I teach public speaking. So it's little things that you can do to kind of be understanding. Like, can you slow down? And don't karma because you're talking too fast. Because
Right.
they're talking at their regular tone. You just
Right.
don't understand that language.
Or
So
you
just
don't
say
have the patience. You just
right.
don't have the patience or want to sit there. And I think for her, specifically for her, because every now and then she was a Caucasian older lady stuck in her ways. She was
Mm,
from out there
and
in
you got to bend for her.
right. And I often heard her make comments because her husband had his own company and he had a lot of Mexicans that worked for him. And I often heard her have make comments outside of her breath about, yeah, they come over and they take over and all these immigrants.
Exactly what your white people did. Came over and took over.
So I think it was just her personal, like just her personal standards. And she just didn't want to deal with anybody outside of, you know what I'm saying? So
They don't mind dealing with you, but they always have to have an upper hand or a superior stance in whatever that conflict or uh, situation is. And
right.
what angers me is we have begun to adopt that behavior. And it's almost like what we've learned is now a weapon towards people from where we are or
And,
people like us. Instead
and
of it being a tool, we use those types of differences to be a weapon against someone.
for me, I don't like it. I hate, and she will always ask me, "Can you take this call?" She would not speak to him, and I feel like everybody. I don't like when people just treat like just anybody.
She got me fired because I'm like, deal with it, bitch.
Well, she had seniority. She was there for like at least like
That's why I
20,
said she would have got me fired because I
at
would
least
not have
20
done it.
years before I even got there. She actually retired from there. So yeah, I was coming in, I was new. I think I was only there for about I was there for about a year when I came over to that side. So it was kind of like, and I had heard so many things before they put me with her in the same department with her. Everybody kept warning me like she has gotten a lot of people fired. So watch what you do, watch what you say,
See,
watch.
I be knowing. See, I know that person. I know I would have got. See,
Like,
I know.
kind of walk on eggshells. And it's crazy because when I ended up working with her, everything that everybody told me, she ended up liking me out of everybody. Like she ended up being like one of my, like, not close to me on my side, me saying, oh, she's one of my closest friends, but to her, she ended up feeling like, oh my God, I just love you so much. She just was ended up being wanting to be one of my closest friends, even though she was an older lady. It was crazy because I'm like, but I don't like when people do that. I don't like when people just treat people of different cultures, of, different standards. I don't like when people just treat people differently because of where they come from. I hate
Right.
it.
Well,
I just
you have to see that that shows a lack of culture in them, even though they're trying to project that energy outwardly. It shows that they're lacking in diversity and travel and culture. They're lacking in that if they don't understand that people are different based
yes,
off of where they're coming, and not different in a negative way, but they do things differently. I am not one of those grammar police. I'm not, and I teach. And I've gotten into some trouble for not grading things the standard way of grading things. Because one, this person comes from this, and you're trying to teach them a language, one, that is not theirs, that at one point they would have been killed for knowing as well as you want them to know now. I'm
well,
not
it's
shocked
good that
when I
you
see
get that
other races do
understanding.
that.
Yeah,
It is
that's good.
more hurtful to me, and it enrages me when I see people that look like us do it. Like,
Right,
why? You know exactly what that person is saying, even if they're using street jargon or
right.
ebonics, if you will. Like, if they're using those things, you know what they're saying. You just want them to not embarrass you, or you don't want to feel embarrassed by that person, and it just
You hit it
oh,
on.
that's why my eye be jumping every time I have to call customer service because I know I'm gonna get into it because it's little things that happens, and I know a lot of it is just the script that you all have in front of you,
No,
but a
we don't
lot of it
have
is
prison.
you
We
feeling
don't have
superior.
prison. Well, do you have an account with M&T? Because don't ever get us. Because it is crazy how I
Well, I
get.
have to call M&T because somebody has an account in my name.
Oh my God, do they? Oh
Hmm. They have
God.
an account in my name because I kept getting mail from M&T.
Oh yeah, they might.
I'm saying that my account was overdrawn. And it was, normally when you hear stuff like that, when you get an email, it is, scam.
It
But
is.
when they send you a letter,
Yeah,
it
somebody.
is somebody has an account in your name.
Yeah, I hear some of the worstest horror stories when I get customers about how people just. I've heard people call and they're like, "Oh my God, thank God I got you." This person I just had just 5 minutes before I got you, they were nasty. They said they couldn't help me and hung up. I'm like, what the hell was wrong with them today? Why the hell they hung
And but see that's and I'm always relieved when I hear
up?
and when I feel like I'm talking to and in more cases is a black woman that you're speaking to, and is a sense of relief because I don't have to be on edge.
I
Like
can't
I don't
believe
feel like I have to be on
it.
edge with them.
Like, why would you? Like, what do you? I just, when people call and they tell me, when the customers call and they tell me, oh my God, I'm so glad I got you. You were so much better than the last person. This person was
Hmm.
just very nasty. And I can't
For
believe it.
no
I'm
reason.
like, well, but this is, for me, it's disbelief because I'm like, well, why was this person, like, I can't
Well, I'm gonna
believe this
tell you. I'm gonna tell you the
person.
one thing that happened. So you do customer service, and I've done it before. The thing is, you're trying to get that person off the phone as quickly as possible because that's just the standard that you have to go by.
Mhm.
The other thing is they are very short with you. If they have to take an extra step, aside from what they're typically doing on that routine, that's frustrating for them. I've had people just ignore what, like, I'm saying to them what the problem is, and then they are regurgitating something totally different in terms of
Oh,
what
they just not
they're
paying
going to do to solve the problem. Like, that's not what I said. I just said I had a payment arrangement for this date, but you cut my phone off, or you did this, or I'm getting this notification
It's
that
not
this is about to happen. And I said, well, you couldn't have possibly done, like, well, I'm telling you what just happened.
they just not
Or
paying attention to
or
what you say.
somebody else from your company, like, let me extend my bill out to a certain, and then they disconnected or whatever. They'll say, well, that's not possible. Like, well, bitch, how was my phone on up until this point? Or how was my bill still
They
going?
not even giving you a chance. Nope.
Right.
That
My mother used to always tell me, do not take a no from somebody that can't give you a yes. And once I realized it's above your pay grade to help me, let me speak to your manager. And you always know you're not speaking to a manager mostly. You're just speaking to the person beside them, or somebody, that they done switched you over to, or the thing of that they'll hang up from you, or just switch you over to a non-relevant department. And the
right.
person's like, well, why would they send you here? Because they ain't want to talk to me no more.
Right. They don't want to talk to you. That's right. I just hate when I get those customers and they like, I'm like, what is wrong with you? And it's crazy because when I do my evaluations, my supervisor, she's always like, you are just so calm. And I'm like, because it ain't my damn money. What the hell I'm mad for?
Right, right.
What the hell
But
I need
but
to
all and I think that's what a lot of people, because in one way I do customer service. When people come into my shop, I'm real hands off with people because I don't like being followed. I don't like being hounded
don't follow
about
me.
me spending my money. And
When
some
I
people
go
like
in
that
the hair
attention.
store, do not follow me. If I
Oh,
tell
they
you
will do
that
that.
I need help, I will let you know. Don't keep following me. If I need help and I'm in a clothing store, if I need help, I will tell you. I understand it's your job, but if I tell you one time, especially Kohl's, I don't know if you ever been in Kohl's.
That just
They
sounds like a store that I'm not invited,
they
so I
will
wouldn't go there.
up to you
That sounds very racist.
every department that you go in Kohl's, somebody will walk up to you. Did somebody explain to you about the new rewards card that you can sign up for today? You go in the next department. No, I'm good. Did somebody tell you about, if you don't leave me the hell alone, I'm
Well, but
just
but see, but
ready
see,
to
and
go.
that's the one thing
Ready
that
to
I
go.
think people. The reason I'm very hands off when people come into my studio space is because I've worked in those establishments, and it's unfortunately those people are,
Doing
when
their
they
job.
get their annual reviews, or
Mhm.
they are graded off of whether or not that they got this quota, or they had this many signups, and it's very unfortunate because that's
And,
not how
well,
people like to shop. People don't, especially
exactly,
people
and I'm
with
pretty sure,
rich
the
people,
customers are putting their
I
comments in.
right. In my case, I've realized rich people come in there and they don't have to worry about money, but they don't like being hounded often. There's a certain select group of people who like to be walked around of establishment like that. But most of us, especially if you don't have a lot of money, please get out my face, miss.
Right.
Because I came in here for one thing and I'm looking at price points. So back up.
Or
But
if you don't want, you just don't want, especially nowadays, now nobody wants to do credit. Nobody wants to keep putting all this credit and put themselves in debt. Everybody is trying to come to debt relief. Everybody, every time you get on social media, it's about debt relief, debt relief. Don't keep hitting me at every corner about signing up for something else that's going to put me in debt. I'm trying to become
mhm.
debt relief. Don't keep coming hounding me about, no, I'm good. I don't need to add no more debt. I'm good. Like, I understand it, but I'm pretty sure customers are putting in because they send you the same damn codes they give you at the bottom. They make sure they tell you at the cash register, don't forget to complete the survey in order to get da 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 da. And I'm pretty sure these people is telling you they don't like your customer service representatives to keep coming to them every day of court asking about this card. So why y'all not taking that into consideration? We don't want you.
Well, I mean, because they still that's their quota, and often it used to be like a bonus system, but
Right.
now many companies are making that the requirement for your everyday raises or um, just your staying with the company, and it's
Right.
unfair.
It's,
One,
it
because
is.
a lot of those things have horrible interest rates. A lot of those things have gotten people in more debt than not. They're
Absolutely.
helpful if you have the credit for it. But if you don't, that's just an inquiry on your report. And that harms you. Like that drops your credit score. So stop, I'm okay with you asking me, but no, you shouldn't be asking me in the store. Wait till I get to the register and ask me and then hear my no. And then that's it. But a lot of these people they're getting paid less than what they should be,
So
and they're
that,
being forced
like
to
you
do
mentioned,
more of those things to supplement their low income. And
right.
and it's
Sort
very
of like a wage.
unfortunate and it makes them crazy.
Yeah,
But
it's like a
yeah,
wage. They depend on their tips more so than their actual salary.
we're
I
not
get
doing that. We're not doing that. No,
it.
not backing
But
into that corner. That's
on
a
that,
conversation that
I
enrages
know you.
me. And
Hey, I know
I've
you.
been a waiter before. I've
Uh,
worked in restaurants, and it angers me because the whole history behind tipping should keep people from wanting to even work in that industry.
absolutely.
But
I
the
know.
idea, and I'm a like a creature of habit. Like I have certain places that I like to eat. Like especially when I like in my 20s, there was certain restaurants I like to go to. I don't like playing with my stomach like that, eating all different types of food.
Right.
But you'll go into an establishment, and these are places that are used to seeing my face. If you get a certain waiter and they don't think you're going to tip, well, they avoid you. Like you got to keep. Oh, excuse me. And if they don't feel like you're going to tip, they govern their service by that. And
Mm,
it is a very ugly tradition. And it's
mm,
this idea you don't realize that the business owner or the restaurateur that you work for have my meal is going to pay for supplies to feed at least 20 to 25 other people.
mm-hmm.
So your owner is paying you the minimum that they have to pay you, which is typically a half of minimum wage in many cases, sometimes less, depending on what state you're in. And they are getting paid 3, 4, 500%. And now I'm sure it's double that in certain places in
Right.
terms of what they get paid for this plate.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me I shouldn't go out and enjoy the food that I can afford because I can't afford to give you a living wage tip. I don't even know what the hell a living wage tip is. That sounds like payroll.
Right.
Why am I responsible for paying your paycheck?
Right.
Especially when your service was not up to par. And I don't care whether it was busy or not, your service determines your tip.
Right.
Now,
You had
all those numbers,
to.
I don't get involved with those percentages.
That's your only job.
Mm-mm.
So why
No,
can't your service be
I
great
tip
wherever
very
you?
well. I tip not so standardly well because your service was piss poor. And I typically because I worked in the restaurant industry, I know restaurants where servers have to share their tips. So I typically still tip even if it was bad service, because I know that person has to share with the bus person or the host. I know those things, so I still typically tip fairly. But I'll let you know, I've had people run out behind me in the store because I didn't leave a tip because your service was piss poor, your
Now,
attitude was piss poor.
how do you feel about tipping restaurant versus delivery tips? Because me and my husband was talking about that the other day. We were
Everybody has a tip now. I had to turn like when people come here, I had to turn that off because the credit card system that I use automatically updated that, and I had to take it off because I feel like it should be optional. And I
Right.
have customers that feel like my prices aren't as high as they should be or where they should be. So they'll tip me. I've had people tip me as a jewelry designer $25 or 20%. Like I've had that happen. Um, and certain people who pay for certain services, like you do it a lot. Like if you use Cash App, I notice you'll always put like a dollar or two more on it. You may not notice you do it, but I notice you do it.
Oh yeah.
And people do that. Like if you're using certain, because they know it's going to take away from your profits. But I have a problem with everybody wanting a tip.
Right.
I really have a problem with that because especially when you're raising your prices and you're still asking for a tip. And I understand service industry people can be very misunderstood because often they're not getting paid that well, but there aren't a lot of jobs that are paying you a living wage that's available. So
That's available.
often that job is one of maybe one or two or three jobs that you have, but it's not the customer's responsibility to one, pay their bill and then pay you in addition.
Absolutely.
It's a courtesy and allow me to set that amount of my courtesy. I
That,
hate when they put it on a bill. I understand when there's a group of 40 people, um, you automatically add gratuity to that. I get that because that's a lot of people that you're handling. But because I'm typically the person that when I'm in a group, I'm gonna always, before I even sit down at the table, my bill is separate because I'm not going through that.
right.
But it's still, I just have a problem with it. Delivery drivers, I understand they're using their gas, and they often aren't compensated for that, but they can write that off at the end of the year.
Oh, I
So they're
forgot.
getting a write off, they're getting a tip, they're getting, and these delivery apps are really using these people because they're not, the company often isn't paying taxes. The companies that they're delivering for are paying the taxes, but the company themselves, they're considered tech companies. So they're
Mm,
not considered delivery agencies. So they're
right.
not paying taxes in Florida or in Maryland. They're
Right.
getting away with that. But yeah, but my feeling on that, I'll do it because I know people are suffering. I'm one of those people and struggling, but I don't like it. You go into a carry out and they got a tip option for what, miss?
At a
For
carrier?
pushing the
I ain't
button?
never seen that.
Why is there a tip option here? You
I've never
haven't
seen that
served
at a carry
me.
out.
Yeah, mm-mm.
Crazy. That is
I got a
crazy.
tip for you, miss. Get another
You
job.
said I gotta say, I mean, they are. I mean, warehouse is always hiring. It don't matter what kind of record you got, and they pay pretty good. You just gotta work a little bit more.
Hey, no drama.
Pretty good.
Quentin, I see y'all watching.
But
Don't we? I can't bring. We got to get off of that talk because that
right,
makes
that's what I
me. That's
said.
worse
Let's
than
get on.
that's like second under customer service talk. It is.
But anyway, let's get into these hot topics. BlackRoses had some good hot topics today that she wanted to get into. So I'm gonna get into them because I kind of did a little bit of research into them. The first hot topic I just got finished looking over before we started the show. It's about this Fredo Bang, Frito. I never know how you pronounce this daggone boy's name.
Frito Bang.
Frito Bang. I feel like I be saying it wrong because why would you name yourself Frito? I feel like it's Fredo.
Fredo. I don't
Fredo.
know.
I think it's Fredo Bang.
Like the spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
I don't know.
I don't feel like his name is Frito, like Frito Lay's. I just don't feel like this is.
It might be. You never know. People like what they like.
But yeah, he fathered lesbian couple Anne and Seven's child, which they are big YouTube. They are this big YouTube couple, Annie and Seven Buffins. They are a lesbian YouTube couple. Their YouTube is usually based on like like being entrepreneurs, being lesbian entrepreneurs and influencers. And the rumor is that he fathered, well, they said that he fathered two of their kids. Um, but I just read through, after reading through their comments and what both the couple and Fredo said, that he only fathered one of the kids. Now, I think the controversy is because he fathered their kids at all. I think that's the controversy, because they are a lesbian couple, and I think that's what the controversy is. My
So
thing,
do you not believe it, or?
I think the issue is because they supposed to be a lesbian couple, and people have an issue with him fathering their kids versus this infertility, them doing infertility or whatever have you.
Well,
Because
I'm
they
gonna
supposed
say this to you.
lesbian.
So this is very possible because these two people that I'm about to speak about, I'm not gonna say their name. Um, I didn't. I was not friends with them, but we participated in a similar activity. Not nothing sexual. We both were supporters of this young lady who did. Oh, I'm not. I can't even say all that because then people might know who it is. Um, but we were supporters of the same mutual artist. I'll say that. And I could tell they were both very cute young ladies, chunky, and I'm maybe old school in saying this because I know pronouns and identity is important, but the dom in the situation looked very size wise to me. Like our shape, our
Mhm.
personalities were very similar, and that was the reason. I was going to say the excuse. The reason that the young lady said she picked me. She said, "You are very creative. You're smart. You kind of look like the family of my girlfriend. Like I would love for you to be." And she first said it as a joke. Well, she said it in a joking way. I don't think she was joking though. And she asked me, she didn't ask me did I want to have children. She didn't ask me about me wanting to be a father, anything like that. She just told me she was interested in um, me helping her. So it was a thought for me because, I'm almost 40. I was really thinking about it. This was like when I was 35. I was like, I do want a child. But growing up with a single mom, my dad died when I was younger. I know that's difficult.
Right.
Um, I know that's not a game. That's not something you should play with. So as it became something that was more like a thought for me, like really seriously thinking about it, I started asking questions like, what would the arrangements be? And
That's
she
what I'm saying.
immediately said to me, we just looking for a surrogate uh, to help us. Like basically, I just want your sperm. And I was like, no, that don't work for me. One, I'm a black man and you are a black woman, so you should feel uncomfortable even saying that to me. And you should, people who feel like that, I don't think that they should go to people that they know. I think they should go to, say, a sperm bank or,
Mhm.
a fertility clinic and
That's
do
what
it
they're
and
for.
not involve the other person. You said what?
I said, because that's what they're for. That's what people
Yeah,
do.
and I don't think you should be doing it with somebody, because I would feel some kind of way, one, about having a child in the world that I don't know or I'm not allowed to be around. Because many of those surrogate situations, you have to sign off that you won't try to get custody or you sign over your parental rights because you're technically labeled as a parent until you sign that over.
Right.
And I would not feel comfortable being someone who my dad died when I was really in second grade, so I would not feel comfortable. I know children who have parents out there who they don't know, like, or that's a void that you can't fix, especially and whether you have a girl or a boy or not doesn't matter. But I feel some kind of way about that. So I had overheard that story, but I am not no longer on the fence about it. I wouldn't do it. You know, if it was like my sister or something like that really wanted to have a child or couldn't, like I had a friend who was having trouble having a child and they couldn't tell whether it was her or her husband.
Mm.
And I would have thought about doing it, but it still would have felt weird to me, you know, doing that. But it has to be a loved one, a really close loved one. But even now, that feels weird to me because that's mixing up the relationship pool and all that. And it's just weird. So I
Well,
don't know
they're
if I
saying,
would want to.
well, they're so what? So after reading, I actually read they actually both came the couple and the rapper, he is a rapper, they both
Hmm.
came with their own comments, and they're including him in raising the baby. The issue was that the one of the ladies in the marriage, Annie, she has polycystic ovary syndrome. So she couldn't
Hmm.
have another baby. She had the difficulty with their first child, carrying their first child through
Hmm.
the fertility process. So she couldn't have the second one. So
Hmm.
they decided to use him. But my after reading everything and all the comments and
Well,
everything,
what one thing before you finish? So, did they do it the natural way, or did they
that's
do it
what
the?
that's one of the biggest things that they throwing
Hmm.
off in the shade room. They're saying it's not said whether they did it the natural way or whether they did it the was the
The
whether
turkey
they,
based stuff?
yeah. So but it's like that's all personal. That's all their business. If they just wanted to have a baby, at the end of the day, it's about, just having a baby. I understand that they're supposed to be a lesbian couple. They're supposed to, but at the end of the day,
Hmm.
it's about them wanting to just have another baby. And some people, and I think at the end of the day, what bothers me most about this situation is that nobody is thinking about the underlining issue, which is that this lady has a health issue that's causing her not, which so many
Hmm.
women are battling through that are heterosexual and
Well, the story is never about, you know, the seriousness of it. It's always about the salaciousness of it,
I
and
just
it's
think
more
it's so
more of a salacious story to talk about this man having sex with these two
he is
lesbians.
excited, and he is very excited. He is a young. Now I listen to his music. I listen to his music. His music is so it's you wouldn't think from reading his comments and listening to his interview about having the baby with them and listening to his lyrics is totally different. And he actually that's the other thing they were trying to figure out, like, where did you come in? Where did you come in playing a part with them? Like, how did you even get to a point of knowing them? And basically he said he met them down in Florida,
Hmm.
and they helped him with um, being living a better lifestyle. And if y'all listen to his music, y'all know he one of those typical rappers, smoking, drinking, fucking, all that stuff, having multiple girls, three, like he one of those typical rappers that's just out there. So he said once he met them, they kind of changed his lifestyle. They kind of changed his, mental state, things of that sort. So they brought a
Hmm.
positive, and he's actually really excited about having this baby. This is his first child, his only child. And the fact that they're allowing him to then, and they have like I said, they have another child. They have another child, and they're actually allowing him to play a part not only in this baby's life, but the first child that they had before she started having these health issues, which he's really excited about. So I like it. I'm here for it.
But there's a lot of, unfortunately, black men get a bad rep, but because a lot of men have had not so typical relationships with a dad, um, and not every situation either. I wouldn't even say most. I think it's like 50-50 almost. But
Mhm.
their men want that. Like that's something that they want. And this is a situation that probably gets him some press in a very weird way, but he also gets to, live out probably something that he didn't see himself being able to do,
Right, and
especially
it's
from his
exactly what they
lifestyle
said.
or his career choice. But,
Because it's not typical. It's not your typical,
hmm
situation. But it's better than. So, would you rather him to be the stereotypical rapper that has, would you rather him be Future? Let's just put it like that. Would you
Hmm.
rather him be a Future? Is it better
Or
for
Nick Cannon now. You
him?
see Nick
Right.
Cannon is
Is
coming
it
out. I
better
can't
him?
handle it.
Right. Would you rather him be a Nick Cannon or a Future, or why? Or would you rather him have just this one child? It ain't like is he's just not with his baby mama. This is the
But
decision
see,
he made.
my only concern, and there's a lot of non-traditional families out here that are working and striving and succeeding. My only worry would be the two, and I only call them because I don't know what their pronouns are, the two mothers changing their mind. I've
Right.
seen it happen. I've seen a dad get pushed to the side in those relationships. Um, I don't. We don't typically hear about this from two men, but I'm sure it's happening in the same way with two men being together. But I would be most concerned and uh, supportive of him making sure this is legal, making
Right.
sure the paperwork and the agreement is on paper. I don't want any, you know, verbal agreements. No. When it comes to this child, what what are the parameters? What are the for both parties, the
Absolutely.
mothers and for him? Like what are the visitation? I'm all for him. I'm all for them seeing that a healthy male relationship is important. I hope it's not about the money um, or what he can bring to the table financially, but more so what can he bring emotionally, supportively, like all those things. That's my concern in this, because this having a baby and just living off of the thrill of it being two lesbians and we all go be in a relationship together, like that disturbs me and worries me. But the well-being of the child should be first. So legally, let's get this in the court system so they understand what the parameters are, what my responsibility is. I don't want somebody to get mad at me at some point. Or what if he decides that he wants to marry somebody else? Is that void the contract, the verbal
Right.
agreement or whatever? Like those that would be my concern. Getting it on paper correctly.
Right.
So
Or
yeah.
is there certain stipulations if he has like a certain type, or having a child around a certain type of person, being as though his background is in being a rapper and having them around certain type of women or females. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Hmm.
Whatever it is, I just wish them well and I hope it works out for them.
Yeah.
But moving right along, the next hot topic I have been seeing this love after lockup, Derek and Monique.
Hmm.
Crazy. They just I don't know. People just at the end of the day with these hot topics, I just feel like people just need to mind their business. But that is not gonna happen, especially when you in the limelight. People just never gonna mind their business. People gonna always have stuff to say.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, once you put it out there for entertainment purposes, then you open yourself up to that. Now, does that mean that people can stay and do whatever they want to do? No, it doesn't mean that. It's funny how a show like this uh, is successful because many of us have been a spectator of this type of behavior. From many of us know somebody who came home to somebody, or many of us have uncles who live that life
Absolutely.
who come home to a. In my family, we call them pen pals
We
because they
talk
used to be pen pals at first,
we talk
and they that's what they run, a pen pal relationship. And I remember people coming home and you know having relationships that just didn't equal up. Like you like, oh, this is real yin and yang here, or this is real May December here,
I got a
and
family member right now doing it. But we ain't gonna put too much out there. I'm
but
just
it's I don't think it should be a show that is exploited. One of
right.
the things that I did not like what was happening was they immediately made it about her and fat shaming her
Mm,
and making it seem like how impossible this relationship could be, or how real it was,
I didn't like that either.
simply because of her size.
Right. I did not like that either. And it's crazy that people automatically draw themselves to this negativity when they see these obese women with these nicer, more builter, more in shape looking guys. They just automatically go to these negative thoughts when they see these type of couples. I hate that so much, and it's crazy because I'm
Hmm.
slimmer. I'm more slimmer. I'm more fit, but I don't look at
But
them.
you
I
said
don't
you
go
like
like,
thicker guys. You went through a phase of liking thicker guys.
yeah, I don't have. I mean, yeah, I don't.
But see, the thing is, a lot
But
of the
they don't
people
do
that
that
are
now.
gum gumping, what's it called? Gum bumping,
But
are people who have insecurities about themselves. So
it's
they can't
crazy,
possibly see somebody that looks like them or looks like what their fear is about themselves in a healthy relationship. Now, the clips that I've seen from this, it's a little weird. He did
right?
introduce her to his family. But I think it was another scene where it was some friends. She felt some kind of way because probably because he didn't introduce her to them, and it may have been. And people are all 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 social media is a big speculation. Everything is speculation. Speculation, speculation. This is probably why he didn't do it, and nobody would ever fall in love. But I only get real on this platform
And
very
this,
seldomly. So
and this,
this gonna be my one real moment for 2023. I don't think I'm gonna do it on y'all space no more. But without getting into details, I'm thick, and if I showed you my lineup of people who were interested in me, people who have in my past, in my today, are interested in me, it probably would shock you. But I am here to tell you that stop looking at people and trying to determine whether or not they're an equal match because you don't know what that other person sees in that person. And it's not always financial. It's
right,
not always financial. Sometimes that's a benefit, especially if you're on hard times, but you don't know how mutually agreed upon that relationship is. And
right,
it's not just because she's fat and lonely, but there are plenty of people who look like him that would love to be with her.
right,
And we just, a lot of people, and I'm not even going to include myself in that, a lot of people base their thoughts about other people on their own personal insecurities. And that's what I'm hearing in a lot of these comment sections talking about this situation.
right.
That's what the issue would be. He couldn't possibly really like her. Well, we know relationships where,
Like I
they would do what
like
they got to do, but ain't I'm gonna tell you, I don't, and I'm speaking about black men. Ain't no black man will lay down with something that he does not have an ounce of like for.
absolutely,
It's not gonna happen. I
absolutely,
don't. I know people who will sleep with anybody, but there's an ounce of like in that person. Now they may feel ashamed of what that person physically looks like, or what have you, but there's something about that person that they like. So don't let them fool you and don't fool yourself.
I,
But yeah.
I've known, in my lifetime, I've had a couple of decent looking male friends, nice looking, smart, nothing wrong with them. They have, even in high school, I had a really good close friend in high school. I remember his name. His name was Omar. That was just his
Mm,
type. He liked big women. He did not like small women. I had a best
hmm
friend. I had a best friend throughout my whole high school. His name was Tion. Nice looking, nothing wrong with him. Kept a job, very intelligent, went to college, nothing wrong with him. Wasn't a beater, didn't have any issues. He only liked plus size women. Nice,
hmm
decent looking plus size women, but it wasn't nothing wrong with him. He wasn't using them or anything like that. That was just his type.
That's
And
what
he
they like.
treated them, those two both treated those girls the same way that these guys treat smaller women. that they
Mm-hmm.
claim model like women, they treated them the same freaking way. Will go out in public, buy them nice things, take them shopping, take wine and dine them the same way. That was just their type. That's what they were attracted to. It wasn't anything wrong
Mm-hmm.
with them. They weren't bad looking. It's just you have a type. My husband, he doesn't have a type. My husband, I seen who he dated before me. He dated all types, big, small, slim, thick, out of our race, inside our race. My husband doesn't have a type.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
you like what you like at the end of the day. But a lot of things that people don't realize is on these reality shows, and they tell y'all all the time, let's look at Love and Hip Hop, let's look at the Real Housewives. They edit these clips, they edit and cut these clips out and give you what they want you to see. And people don't have not like realized that. If y'all don't realize that by now, they edit and cut these clips out, and y'all just y'all just get so in tune with these shows. Like everything ain't what they show
And
y'all.
they cut them. They edit to provoke conversation. And I
Absolutely.
and I I I look at the people who decide to continue doing it with a side eye because they're painting you out to be one way. And if even if she is an insecure individual and she feels some kind of way about herself or whatever have you, um, that's her business. And
Absolutely.
I'm not a person like we can sit up here and have a conversation about it, but my conversation will never be on what I think she feels and what I think he feels because I've seen things that would be strange, way strange to the average individual. I don't cast judgment on people because I don't know what people like. You'd be
Absolutely.
shocked. I'm telling you, if when I come down the floor, we're gonna have some real conversations because I've seen things, I've experienced things,
Right.
and it's just like somebody who you wouldn't think sees you, who sees you,
Absolutely.
you
Even
know,
say, even
and
going
often those types of relationships, they are sparked by conversation. And when you grow in a conversation with someone, it often does not matter what a person looks like. That's why sometimes you have these very strange looking relationships of what people look like because people have gotten to know someone
as
and then they see each other or then the reality of what that person looks like and it opens your eyes up and your range to what's possible with someone. And I think it's really damaging to keep painting these pictures. I just saw a show on Fox Soul with Funky Dineva, and I think Funky Dineva is so insecure and so self-hating of himself that he reflects those opinions onto other people. And he's one of the ones that was really fat shaming her. And I looked at
I
some clips. I don't watch the show. One, because I grew up with like seven uncles who kept a pen pal. When they came back from college, they always had a pen pal. But it just so I've seen this happen, and I know sometimes they're really in love. Sometimes they, really in financial love, or want to just come up. And that's why I said the thing earlier. I don't think a man will lay down with somebody or be with somebody, or especially introduce somebody to his family, if they do not have something that they like about that person, even if it's not equal. They're not gonna do it. They're not. He introduced her to his family, like he's on a whole TV show,
right.
and
Because
we've seen the reality of this where people will lie. But you can only lie but so much when you are really with this person. Now, if behind the cameras, they don't sleep in the same bed, they're not in the same house, he's not affectionate towards her. This is strictly for camera. Now that's a whole nother story. But I I don't know.
and that's the other
Shout
thing.
out to the pen pal relationships. I'm just saying, that's a
that's,
real thing.
that's the other thing. Like you don't know. We often talk like a lot of our shows. We get deep. We dig deep about people's backgrounds, about how
Hmm.
people grow up, about, people's childhoods and things like that. You don't know what his childhood consists of. You don't know what her childhood consists of. It could be, it doesn't have, in a relationship, it doesn't always have to be physical. It could be a matter of emotion. She could be an emotional, um, she could be there for him emotionally. It could be an emotional attraction. I mean,
Hmm.
you just don't know. You just don't know where that attraction is. It's not always physical. And I feel like people just automatically assume, they just put slim, nice, light skin, dreads next to
But it's there.
big,
But look at the people who make the comments. Look at, like, I go into comment sections and I go to their pages and I look at who they are, and I don't see anybody bunned up with this person. I don't see anybody, or they may not look as good as they want this person to look, or they bashing this person for not being. And I just see it like, and these are people. The comment sections are filled with people insecurities and their discomforts and their self-hatred and their trauma, because many of the people who comment, they've been in these situations and the person didn't love them, or the person was, dealing with this person now, and in this situation they have an extra layer to this person. So apparently when he was introducing her to his family, one of the people who was supposedly one of his families was transgender. So now they're bringing that into the scenario, like, that ain't his family, that ain't his brother. Like, so allegedly that's somebody he sleep with. So they're now making him gay. What if he is? Like, I hate people sometimes.
Why
Most times
can't he
I
have
do.
a transsexual family member? I'm confused.
What did you see this thing? Well, you just bringing up the topic, but it was the situation where I think he was introducing her to some of his family members, and one of the people were allegedly transgender. I saw the clip, and I could tell, but they slowed the clip down when them two was hugging, and it looked like there was expression on the transgender's face.
Mm,
Like, it's allegedly supposed to show that they were together, or they were more than what he was saying in that moment. And I'm like, people will reach to the moon and beyond just to have something to say on
okay,
social
right.
media.
For you,
And it is so sad to me. It's
for
very sad because why, for specifically for black men, and because both of us are black, that's what we speak from. But how do you expect for black men to start telling you the truth when you don't create safe spaces for them to be able to simply live?
absolutely.
So what if he does come out as bisexual, or he likes transgender as well? What happens? Does that speak to why he's with this woman? Does it speak to, why he's hiding this person? What if? Like,
Absolutely.
and I just posted on somebody's comment, like, why is that important? If that person is transgender or not? What if it is a family member? What if it's a cousin or a brother? Like, what if? Like, but I don't know. Sandra Edwards says, frowning face, only frowning face, frowning. I guess Sandra has been through the situation before. You had a pen pal, Sandra? What's
Um,
today's hot topic? Because this is a black hole.
so today, that was the two hot topics today.
Okay.
The main topic, today's main topic is we getting back into these affairs. I think we talked a little bit about the affair with the two media hosts. They had the little secret little affair. I forgot.
PJ Holmes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was thinking about, I thought a little bit into that when we was talking about that 2 episodes ago. And then I was just thinking overall about just all these celebrities just coming, just all these different affairs coming out with these celebrities have all these different affairs. This Nia Long thing, and then the relationship guy, and how they just found out that he
Jackson.
left around on his wife and all that stuff. And I was sitting here and I was like, people don't think about their kids. They just don't
Why?
think about their kids. Like these
The
kids.
kid is already here. They worrying about the nut that they about to get later. Wow.
But the thing is that okay, I know the wives, or the not the wives, because it's not always the wives. Sometimes it's like because you got to think about the other person in the situation. The females have something to do with it too. But the spouse, you think about the spouses are humiliated, but think about nobody ever thinks about how, like sex tapes, for instance, these sex tapes, how they end up coming out with these daggone sex tapes that just populate out of nowhere. These they don't go nowhere. These sex tapes, they don't go nowhere. Once they go out, they're out here and they're in limbo and they're out in the internet, they're there. And so your kids are being taunted there. It's like, oh, I seen your mama down on her knees and stuff. Like, y'all don't think about stuff like that. And that's the biggest thing. Like, people just don't think about anybody but themselves when it comes to these affairs, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're just the everyday person. Y'all don't think
Mhm.
about your children. Like, really think about your children. Just think about the effect of everyone around you. That's the biggest thing. The effects of everybody else around you. It doesn't just affect, I understand you're unhappy or whatever drove you to have this affair. I just
Mhm.
want for 2023, I just want everybody to man the hell up. If you gonna have an affair, just let that person know and keep it moving. Just let that person know, listen, I ain't happy. I'm in this space right now. We just need some time. Just let them know. It's time. It's time for y'all to be honest. We've been doing this little runaround thing for years and years and years to come. You never know. That person might be unhappy too, and then they might agree to a little bit of a break. Don't just assume that you're the only one unhappy. It might be some shit that you ain't doing too. So don't just assume, oh, I'm just
Mhm.
unhappy, but I don't know how to tell him or her. So I'm just feeling more attached to Susie right now, and she's just giving me all the attention. But how you know if the other person ain't feeling the same way, like you ain't giving them the attention too? You lacking attention, you lacking perfect sex or whatever have you. That person might be feeling the same daggone way. Have that conversation. And maybe you both might be able to agree and come to agreeable terms to have a brief separation. Sometimes that works. It ain't saying that y'all gonna split forever, but at least you can put some things in place where it won't affect your children, if that makes sense.
Well, well, well. Let me say something. You expect a lot out of people,
I do.
and that's a great thing. But it gets you into trouble because expectations make an ass of you,
It do.
and eventually them because they are all ultimately the asshole. But what I'll say is, hmm, I like I've witnessed affairs, and and both of us are in our 30s. We can still
Yeah, we're gonna keep it there.
say we're in our 30s, uh, and and not making it about our parents because I don't want your mother calling me up, cussing me out, and I don't definitely don't want mine calling me up, cussing me out. But as adults, we are older than our parents were when they had us. So I say that to say a lot of things that I've softened on as an adult is because I've thought about that. One of the reasons I forgave my dad for being a little, Rolling Stone was because I'm older than he was when he had me. My dad was probably 21 when he had me, and my mom was 23. And surely neither of them knew anything about love at that point. They knew what they wanted to feel. And I'm not, talking about affairs or nothing, but both my parents had another child while they were married with me. I can say that because the children are here, and if you add the age, the ages up to when when he passed away, then you like, oh, those children came right after. right after they separated. But um, I don't think people as adults, we do not think about think about what we're doing in terms of who it's affecting
Mm-hmm.
and how it's going to affect them. We just do it. And as an adult, I've learned how to make better decisions because I had to factor in who's all involved. Now
Right.
that didn't limit me, but it did protect. It's starting to protect me because now I'm making decisions for not only me, and I don't have any children, but also the people around me, my friends, my family, my supporters. But equally as important, that should be true for people who have children. Um, we have to, and one of the things that I think parents don't understand is children are smarter than what you give them credit for.
Right.
They don't often understand why you're making those decisions, but they know that that person isn't my mother or my father, and I just saw them sleep over and they came out of your bedroom.
Right.
They know that this man that's taking us on a vacation is not my father,
Hmm.
uh, or let me stop because I was about to get real personal. This person is not our father or our mother, but um and because parents never say you better not tell nobody. Very few parents say stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
those parents know how intelligent their child is. But I think there's a lack of uh respect for your children when you're doing things in their face and then telling them to do something totally different.
Right.
It's a total lack of respect, and children see inconsistency in what you say and what you do. And I just don't think people really understand. And it's not just young parents; these are old parents making mistakes, um,
Absolutely.
and cheating and sleeping around and having affairs. And I switched the way you wrote it because you said power eventually, and I saw power meaning effects, and the effects of an affair with children is lack of respect for you,
Mm-hmm.
the loss of respect for you, and the you're building children to be conflicted to what feels good to them versus what the right thing to do. And the right thing to do isn't to stay with that parent, but the right thing is often leave that parent if you feel like you have to sleep around on them. Um, Future and a lot of the other people who have multiple children with multiple parents don't affect me as much. What affected me really is Nick Cannon because what he's doing now, and now subsequently what Mariah Carey is choosing to do now, is to and if you don't know, she's seeking. It's being reported allegedly that she is seeking
Full custody.
sole custody, full
Mm-hmm.
custody of her children, which means she does not, and I don't think it's to keep her children away from him, but it's simply, and from what I understand of that situation, is so she doesn't need him to make decisions. So if she wants to move, if she wants to go out of the country, if she wants to XYZ with the children, she does not need his permission to do so.
Do you
Um,
think she's doing that in hurt though? Because she's seeing him kind of moving around and doing all this. I'm gonna say all this immature, all these making these all these immature decisions. I'm gonna say because why are you having so many kids? I just like.
well, if you look at it, I think as of now, with the exception of her two children, the other 10 children are all under the age of probably six now. It was five last year, so I think they under age of six. Um, and the effects of that is, and what he's come out and said is, and he probably came out and said it because he knew that this was coming. She didn't just file this conjunction like yesterday. She probably respected him enough to let him know that she's about to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came out with his statement meaning, I'm tired. I don't think I can handle this. He never said this was a mistake. He never said I apologize to my children, not even to the mothers, because the mothers are all benefiting from this.
Mm-hmm.
But The children are the ones losing out because you don't have time to give each one of them the personal care that they wanted and deserve from you. And just looking at that situation, I think Mariah Carey is hurt for her children. I don't think she's hurt. I think she left the idea of them two being together when they left. It probably was why they separated. But I think she's more hurt for her children who don't, because I'm sure they had an agreement in having those children. And he's probably broken that agreement, and she's probably broken it in some way. But more so him. And I when I look at, and not to make him this big poster child for irresponsible parenting, but it really just, the effects of this on children is so deeply concrete. So when we think, I've had a oops in my relationship and mom and dad aren't talking or they're not getting along, and especially if they live in the same house, children feel that, they see it, they harbor it, they make it about them, because something had to be wrong with me for my dad to think that he could just go out the door and have other children, or sleep around. Because in many of these cases, we're seeing a child is being born out of it. It's not just the embarrassment of your mate or somebody you're with sleeping around on you, but children are being procreated from this. And I think the effects of that will damage a child for years to come. Years. More than you even, especially because the parents aren't talking to them. They're just making choices for them.
So is he in an actual relationship with these women, and then
in his mind probably is
coming out of it, or is he just going around like, oh, I just want so many kids, so I'm just
well, if you look at this situation, that somebody put a map up of his relationships, and all the children are different ages, but he went back to this girl. It's like he has this circle, and Mariah like, I'm out of this shit. This is no circle because there's no coming back to me. But you have this circle of women, unlike Future, who just found a different baby mother or had multiple children and moved on to the next one. He is actually going back to ones of them and having children. So I don't know if there's an agreement with those other 5 women, because some of them, he has multiple children. I think up to 3 children with some of them, but their children are not, it's not like he had 3 with this one and then went to this one and had 2. No, he had 1 with this one, then he went over here with this one, then he went over there with that one, then he added a new one, then he went back to this one, then he went back to that one. That's what it looks like, because their ages are crazy.
My issue with that is that I feel like these women will eventually, at least 1 or 2 of them will eventually end up playing victim when everything doesn't end up fanning out.
When he loses his money. If now, I'm not gonna say that, knock on wood, God forgive me, but if he loses his fortune, that's when the books are gonna come out. That's when the text messages will come out.
Right. When it doesn't fan out the way that they're assuming that it's
benefit them.
Right. That's when they gonna cry victim and then, but at the end of the day, you made that decision too, because if I don't know, I just wouldn't have made that decision. I'd have been like, no, you got too many kids, you got too much going on, sir. I don't care how much.
Not even too many kids, because I know people who have big families who are great parents. I just know those people. On the other side of that,
just evaluating the whole scenario overall, it would just make me, as from just evaluating from as a female myself, just evaluating the whole situation overall, it would have made me back away. You wouldn't have came back around the second time. It's just been like, I don't even think I would have did a first time, like being like that second person that second baby
Hmm.
mom, I wouldn't have came back around. You wouldn't have came
And
first.
and you know
Because
what?
now you
I've talked about this on other platforms, and I say that's why when I'm getting to know somebody, I ask the questions that are uncomfortable, and
right,
people be like, "Don't ask them that question."
right.
No, I need to
That's
ask a
all I'm
question.
trying to
You
get
have
that serious.
children? How old are they? And you're like, well, this one over here is one, and then I had another one over here with this lady, and he's four, and then I went back over here to this lady. Red flag. Check please.
I feel like when
And
you
split
get to
that
a
please.
certain age, you
Hmm.
don't your tolerance is short. Like right now, I'm at a certain age. We in our
Not
30s.
these people, because everybody want a reality show.
My tolerance is so short, so I just don't want to deal with a lot. I already got enough on my plate. I don't want to add to it. I just don't. So you
But see,
right.
the other question is, are those women that he circled back to, are they in relationships? Are they seeing someone, or are they just waiting for him to come to their house that day?
That's true.
Like those are the questions that are important to me. Like, are you waiting?
That's
Are
true.
you patiently waiting? Are you like what is the scenario here?
That's
Because what I see is a child that is going to eventually say, was I not enough?
mm-hmm.
And not to make Mariah's children any more important, but uh, I can imagine what they're already starting to feel, and
Mm.
maybe that may have went into, and that's speculation, allegedly feeling, and is that what went into her decision? Because she didn't need him.
Right.
I mean, but because nobody had sole custody, she couldn't just move out of the country if she wanted to, or get them and move. But yeah, so that then becomes the situation. Is
But the
it? Go ahead.
but the other thing is that as these kids get older, it creates bad it just creates like a bad because you never know as these
Mhm.
kids get older what their thought process is. And then you get somebody like Beyonce's father's little side piece that felt like, well, why Mariah kids get to live this way and my kids don't get this way. You know what I'm saying? You get these
And
kids
and
growing
more
up and they
importantly, you
look
get
at that.
children that don't like each other.
That's what I'm
I've
saying.
heard,
These kids
in
grow up.
talking about this situation, I've heard quite a few people speak on, I wouldn't want my children around somebody else's children. So now you're creating a distance where these children have to find each other on Facebook at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's happened to me.
Because they
I
can't do
had
the
a
same
I have a
thing.
little sister who I did not know about. I allegedly I met her at the funeral once, but I didn't know this little girl. And she found me on Facebook. That's embarrassing. Like that's an embarrassing introductory story that you meet your sibling because and I'd never forget her message to me. She said, "I think you're my brother," and I already feel some kind of way about my father. For me to know, oh, you had another child. Okay. So now you're creating these ticking time bombs that's going to go off in 20 years, in 30 years, when these children want to meet each other, or one of the siblings want to meet the other one, or, you know, it's sad because your children are in the public eye. People know who your children are.
Right.
They at least know their
For,
names.
for
Somebody did a whole family tree of all the baby mamas and the children, and you've only been married to one of them.
for me, so on on my father's side, my father has three other four other kids. Um,
Hmm.
they all live in New York, and that's how I ended up knowing about them. They all reached out to me on social media, and for me, because they all lived in New York where he lived at, so they actually got to be around him, got to live sort of like a different lifestyle. And they reached out to me on social media. And of course, they wanted me, yeah, come on up. I got one sister who now lives out in California. I have another one who lives in like a better part of New York. I'm not sure specifically what part of New York, but I see them on Instagram. I see them on social media. I got another sister who she hangs with like all of the influencers and celebrities and like the current influencers that's all on social media that you see in these reality shows and stuff like that. And then I have another brother. I don't know what he does, but I see him every time he posts, he's driving like Bentleys and he has like a big old duffel bag of cash on his passenger side, like this how I'm riding and this and that. And they all see my father on a regular basis. And y'all know
Mm-hmm.
my father is like an old school rapper. So they get all the luxuries of my father. I don't see my
Mm-hmm.
father. I'm living a regular, degular lifestyle. So when they reach out to me on social media and they like, won't you come up to New York or won't you come to California? Let's hang out. We not on the same budget. I don't want to hang out with y'all because we not on the same budget. So to me, it's rather embarrassing for me to come up there and I gotta sit back and kind of, when I
Mm-hmm.
see them on social media every day and they in these bars and they popping bottles, $200-300 bottles and stuff like that, or I see my sister that's in California and her whole wardrobe is Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. Like that's her whole wardrobe. That's her everyday wardrobe. She has a 3-car garage with 3 different cars outside. She has a Bentley, a BMW, I forgot what her third car. I think she has the newest Mercedes Benz something she has outside. And then my other sister who lives in like another part of New York, she has this really huge house. This is the one that pops bottles every other night, 200-300 full $500 bottles every night. Has a makeup artist just personally comes in and does this. And then, like I said, it's my other sister who's the youngest. Me and her look just alike. It's crazy because my nickname is Kia. Her name is Gia. That's crazy. We look just a freaking like. She just got really deep dimples. And it's like, even though I know that they want to get in touch with me because it's crazy. I'm the oldest. I don't want to hang out with y'all because we ain't on the same budget. But I
Well, it's
know
not that you don't want to hang out. You don't know them, and y'all ain't in the same tax bracket. So what we gonna do?
right. Exactly. And that's how I feel bad about it because it's like I know genuinely they just want to hang out and they want to like they've even like my sister from California has even reached out to me like several times. I'll just come to you. I don't have nothing for you to do if you come to me because I don't do the same things that you do. I don't sit and I don't go out to these extravagant bars and spend $2,000 on, in a night. I don't do that. So I don't have anything for you to do if you do come and see me. I'm just a regular person. We're gonna go, have a regular meal at Texas Steakhouse and we might go to
I'm gonna tell you what it has been for me. Because I have a sister who I grew up with, who I have that same type of relationship with that you're speaking about. But to, so my father had 4 children that we know of, and 2 of them passed away. But the 2 that are living, as the oldest, I've tried to reach out. I've tried to be the catalyst, um, and it hurts when you get shot down. So I'm telling you, think about what that makes them feel like, because to them, that's just their lifestyle. It's not anything that some of them may have worked for it, may be in the same situation that you're in, and just that was just their hustle. Like you're building this hustle for yourself now. But I would say try, because even if like my brother and sister, they're definitely affected by the lack of time. So I'm the oldest, so I would have known our father more. But my brother had the most time with him. Um, and my sister had absolutely no time. Like she doesn't know him at all. So, you know, I can see how it's affected them both. Like him having all this time with him and still seeing that he was a piece of shit. And then her not knowing and learning that he's a piece of shit. Just how it affected them. And this is why I say to parents, stop playing this game of chess with your children with the
Absolutely.
other parent, because ultimately the child is going to be affected by that,
Absolutely.
because they still deserve a relationship even if the parent doesn't. Let that child decide that my dad is a piece of shit. Let the child decide that I don't want a relationship with them. Let your child decide that. Do not make choices for your parent, for your child as parents in terms of whether or not they're around a parent. Now, if the parent's a pedophile or they've done stuff to harm the child, I see that. Because even in a controlled situation, that is still giving them access to that person. I think, and my advice to you is try with them. Like, even if it's just one meetup and you all decide to meet for a vacation or something. So as you grow older, you're not always wondering shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right.
And then your children, they probably have children. I hate when see families that are not, when children don't know each other. Because what if they meet each other? And we've talked about stories like that. And they
Right.
realize they siblings or their cousins or, for no other reason. So you not sleeping with a family member.
Right.
Um, I'm just saying that's a reality.
That is true.
But we have to, these are the effects of an affair. These are the effects that we all know about, but nobody talks about, and nobody does anything to improve it. And I know how difficult that is to reach out to somebody. I'm the oldest. So imagine learning you have a brother. You learn, and I used to treat my younger brother like crap because
Mm.
I didn't know him and I didn't want to know him, but I was angry for my mother. I wasn't angry for me. And we could have gotten much closer as children had I opened up that door, but I didn't. And now with a sister, I didn't like her for my own sister. I didn't want my sister that I grew up with, to feel some kind of way when this person was brought around. So I avoided that. But for you, I really would say at least try, because you don't want to keep perpetuating that stereotype that we can't get along because we're from broken families, but figuring out how to make it work. I mean,
Right.
you honest with them, like, you go pay my way? Like, just be that blunt and honest with it, because, we ain't living in the same bracket.
Right.
And you probably be surprised. And they probably already said that to you, but your pride and your frustration has
That's
gotten
true.
in the way of progress.
That's definitely
But
true.
again, these are the effects. And in the word choice that you chose, the power of an affair where the children were not thought about. They
That's
wasn't.
definitely true. That's
So
definitely true.
yeah,
Definitely.
that's a tough topic because it has so many different layers to it and so many different sides. And at the end of the day, who hurts? The children.
The
And
children.
now the adults.
But it's crazy because, like, I don't know. It's crazy because, like, my father, even though he still ain't came on the show, he still be wanting me to come to New York and come to his shows and stuff like that. And for the
We
most
gonna
part,
just show up for camera one day. You gonna call all your
he
siblings
too. He asked
and
me
we
to
gonna
come.
have a camera
He
and we
asked
just gonna do an expose.
he asked me to come to his shows and stuff when he do his shows, and he's close relatively. Like, he had one in North Carolina a couple of months ago. He do a lot of shows down here in Florida, so I may end up going to one once he gets back down to Florida. But they doing a lot of shows lately, so I may
Well, the
end
old
up.
school is new school now. The old school has a resurgence
They
now.
have, actually, what's her name? Coy Leray. She just sampled their song that girls, because girls is players too. She just sampled their song and redid it.
Oh, mm-hmm.
That's their original song. She sampled it and redid it, which is crazy. But yeah, so I'll definitely try and reach out. Like I said, I don't know. I'm starting something new. I'm starting some new stuff this year. I told you
Well,
I'm
you have a fresh start.
back.
You have a fresh home. You have a fresh beach
Absolutely.
life, 59 degrees life. To be able to, and I'm saying this because I don't feel like it's too late for me, but I feel like I put it off longer than what
Well,
I
then
should
you
have.
gotta
And
do
you
it
don't
quick.
know the level of hurt that they may be going through
Right.
because you're the oldest, correct?
I am, yeah.
So that says a lot because the same effects that as the oldest children we feel like, was I not enough?
Right.
What was it about me that you didn't want to stay, or you didn't want to stay around, or you didn't want to be a full-time parent or a parent at all? The exact opposite happens to the ones that they were around. Like, why did you lie to me? Why didn't you tell me the truth? Why, what happened? Are you going to leave me too?
Mm-hmm.
And being adults, you have a better understanding, but it still doesn't take away the pain or the embarrassment or, it just didn't. And my brother has really turned out like a lot of my uncles have. Not to say that I'm perfect. Uh, and he just keeps getting into trouble because he didn't have it. He lost both of his parents. And I regret not bringing him, because he could have, in fact, lived with me. My mother would have definitely did that. But I think my mother would have never done that without my permission,
Right.
because she knew how I felt. And it just, we have to sometimes think for our children, but also talk to them to see where their mind is, because that's not a small thing that you have a parent that just moved on as
Right.
if you wasn't even still here,
Yeah.
and at least for you, there was distance. My
I
dad lived in South Baltimore, like minutes away. So it's still, but people, and as adults now, we realize we have to make choices sometimes that go against what other people want for us. Just getting ourselves together. But yeah. So we just go get some camera equipment and just show up at a show. We're gonna go to the backstage door and be like, "This is my birth certificate. Tell him I'm outside."
Oh God! You said we just got. I don't have to do that. All I gotta do is tell him I'm showing up and here and get my passes. I just haven't made the effort to because I don't like his music. It's old school. I hate old school. I just be kind of like, no. I be making excuses like, yeah, nah, I ain't gonna be able to make it.
But
Cause he
it
did
does it feel like, for me, it always felt like a void was missing.
yeah,
It
uh,
felt like a void was missing, and you had someone who took that place, but nobody could ever replace that person. They
yeah,
just stepped in the
yeah.
void.
That's
But
true.
it's still, there's an emptiness that children from those types of families have, and it's a sad feeling, but you can't explain it. And sometimes, and luckily, you were able to, have a family, because some people avoid even having families. I think that's probably I was afraid to have a child, because what if I was like my father?
Yeah,
That's why when I said that
like that.
situation, had things been different, I think I would have went with those two ladies and had they been open to me being a parent. But
Right.
my fear was, what if I end up like him? And there was many things that we are very similar with. And my fear was, am I going to stick around?
Right. That.
Am I equipped? Not that it was simply he didn't want to be there, but was he equipped? And I don't think he was equipped. He didn't have a father. So how would he have known what
Right.
to be?
That's what it always is. That's what it always boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well,
Wow.
I hope you reach out to your sibling too. We're gonna do it this
I've
year.
done it. I'm waiting on them.
Oh,
I've been that other sibling that your siblings have reached out.
well then you
They
got
have to take the situation serious.
no, but then you got to pop up with a camera like you told me.
Because they live in some hood environments.
Oh, you said they live where?
In some hood environments. If my dad was still here, I would definitely be confrontational. I would definitely be. With the siblings, I have to give them that choice. Like, your siblings have to give you that choice.
Right,
They have reached out to you. But for me, a parent, I'm gonna be confrontational.
right.
And had I had that time with him, I think, as of right now, he would probably have a order of protection out against me.
You say because I'm ready. I got some things on my mind and I need
Right,
to
because I didn't get the question that I wanted to ask in
get
that moment. I did not ask
right.
out
And
of
that's
respect.
exactly what I just thought about what you said when you was talking about. I'm like, you know what? It's short. Everybody's just passing away left and right. You just have to. So I get it.
And
I
if
got
they meet your mother, they gonna fall in love with her. So you
right.
gonna have a relationship. But just think, part of that is I have these siblings over here already. I
Right.
don't need them. But in essence, it's not a fact of you needing them, but it will fill a void. Like that's still family, that's still blood. And you just want to feel that people want to feel whole. And
Yeah,
knowing is better than not knowing.
true. Definitely true. Definitely true. All right, y'all. Well, that's our show for today.
Mm,
Let's thank Nate for coming on to the show today and giving his opinions as usual. We didn't have a
not
lot.
as usual. What you rolled there today? What you rolled there?
We so yeah, we didn't have to put any money in the curse jar today, thankfully.
No, we didn't.
It's like, let me start throwing
So
shade
we
on
know
Black
who the
Roses.
curse.
We'll start throwing shade on Black Roses because when she come back next week, she gonna be like, "And what y'all say?"
I'm surprised he wasn't in the comment section.
Right, right. But y'all, if y'all don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to become a sponsor, don't forget we are still looking for sponsors because we have a lot of events coming up that we want to put on this year. We want to bring you guys out to come and see Black Roses and KD live and in person. If you want to become a sponsor or if you want to become a guest, make sure that you email us at PodcastIAmShe@gmail.com, or you can hit us up at our Instagram and Facebook at I.Am.She. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Am I forgetting anything? I just feel like I just lost my train of thought. Oh, don't forget to tune in next week. I don't know what the topic is, but it's gonna be good. Am I missing anything?
Mm-mm.
I can't.
Mm-mm.
I just lost my train of thought at the end because I'm really thinking like, oh Lord, I got to travel from California to New York and back to New York.
Or they can come to Florida.
Right. I'm saying like I gotta go. Well, no, I want
You
to go.
the
I always
oldest.
wanted to go to California, so I'm like, travel.
Yup. You the oldest, so they gotta come again.
Yeah, guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for supporting us as usual. We'll see you guys next week.
Keep
Bye.
strong.